Thank you, Sherry. Maybe I shouldn't have had that glass of wine on that first night with Sherry, huh? But if you want to know, I never read a speech because that's when my dyslexia comes roaring back, and who knows, I could be talking about clover your load, which I saw this sign in Seattle when I was living there, and I'd laugh, and my husband goes, "What are you laughing at?" I said, "Clover your load?" And he goes, "No, it's cover your load." And so dyslexia is fun if you look at it correctly, and you laugh when you need to laugh. And it keeps you from getting too big a head, because every once in a while you realize really no one person can know it all. It takes all of us. I think that's what my experiences have taught me. And that's what I want to bring to the city council, is the we and not the I. But why am I running? I know that some of you have heard me speak before. I want to give back to my community. That is how I was raised. That's how my parents and my grandparents raised me. I was raised on stories from my grandfather, who was an MD during the Depression, and he would always say, we didn't have a lot of money in our pocket, but we always had food. Our house was taken care of and our garden was growing, because he would trade his services for every single one of those things. And those are the early socialists, believe it or not. I was raised that if everybody stands up, we can all take care of each other. But that means you have to stand up too. And that when that fateful day in November came along, I realized I had to stand up too. But what I didn't know from that day in November is that every week, and sometimes every day of the week, I'd be given a reason why I am here. I mean, look at this last week in our government, in our country. We are being given reasons why we should look and think globally, but we have to act locally, because it's only through acting locally are we going to combat what we see and the chaos we see in Washington, D.C. It's how we're going to show Washington, D.C. how you do it, okay? That's how we're going to do it. And that's why I am running, because I believe locally is going to be the answer for this country. Okay? This city is one of the examples we can put out there. I'm an inborn optimist. I think you kind of have to be an oncologist. So I believe in the power of the people. The power in the people is in creativity and intelligence. That's how we're going to face and mitigate the environmental challenges we have facing us. That's how we're going to improve everybody's lives with living wages and health care. That's how we're going to do that. It's how we're going to provide a strong, healthy, small business community that is progressive. So let's go back to Olympia, because I've spent a bit of time talking about what's happening in this country. Well, honestly, it is local. I've said that. I will say it again. In Olympia, we are facing some issues. The City Council has done a great job on some of them. We have joined the Global Covenant of Mayors. We have decided we're going to hold to the Paris Covenant. These are fantastic goals. I applaud the City Council for that. But to mitigate our environmental crisis coming up, we're going to have to do better than those. So we're going to have to elect a very serious city council to take these things on and push them beyond those limits, so that when the tide rises twice a day in Olympia, we actually don't have a flooded downtown. Maybe we need to move the downtown away from where it is. Maybe we need to find a way that is creative. I believe in the experts in our own town, the people of our town, because we can find a way to make Olympia face this environmental crisis and actually best it. We have a great start, a great running start, but we have to continue that. The next issue, at every single door that I have been in, knocking on and talking to people for the primaries, is the homelessness issue. This is the first word out of everybody's mouths. It has reached a humanitarian level. What is sad to me is it's happening all over the country. So when I hear someone say, oh, they're just coming to Olympia because we provide the services, I can tell you that every community in this country that has said that and then gone and looked at who's on our streets, their numbers match our numbers. Let me just tell you what the average numbers I've seen. 75% of the people on the street in Olympia are within 5 miles of their original home. 15% are within a county of their original home. That only leaves 10% coming in as a wanderer or a transient, if you will. So these are our people that don't have a house, that need a house. And every city, state, and country that has tackled this successfully has provided housing. And what that definition of housing is will be dependent on the communities in each city. So to make this a realistic, solid change, we have to get all the players at the table. That not just includes the service providers, the city council, but it provides the people that don't have a house, because one size is not going to fit all. And it's going to take a community to solve this problem, but we first have to own it. It is ours. We can't wait for anybody else. We need housing, and we need the process from the time they get to the street to the moment they get a key to a room, okay? That's what the city has to do, and I'm going to bring that. I'm going to own it. Now, the last two things are kind of interlinked. Everybody has been saying for 6 months, every time I go to a forum, we're expecting up to 20,000 new occupants of Olympia. 20,000, 5,000 potentially within the downtown area. That's a lot of growth for our small surface area for Olympia. And if we don't plan this correctly, we're going to look like some places I've lived in this country: Houston, Texas, Los Angeles, Denver. Used to be the jewel of the Rockies. Not anymore. It's basically one suburb from Colorado Springs to the Wyoming border. If that is bad planning, we have this unique opportunity. We have a forecasted growth. We better plan it. And we better plan it, or we're going to lose our growth, our green spaces, our established neighborhoods, our urban farms, and our rural farms. These are also the key to helping survive the environmental changes. We need green spaces. That is how we're going to help the environment. So it's all interlinked. Now, lastly, I am not a believer in trickle down. I never have been. I've never liked it, not from the moment Reagan proposed it. It didn't work, but somehow we're back there again. I believe the only way our economy is going to survive, our society is going to survive, is if we bring up the lowest income in our country. We have to rise everybody up from the bottom, not trickle it down from the top. That means we have to have a commitment to being an incubator for small businesses that are progressive. They provide living wages. One of my forums, I figured out quickly before I actually got up and stood up what a $15 an hour minimum wage would allow a person to afford in an apartment. Do you know what it is? $550 a month. Do you know what the average housing cost for a one-bedroom in Olympia right now is? $800 to $1,000. So we have a little bit of a problem. All the cities and all the states in this country have a little bit of a problem. We have a rising cost of housing, and we don't have an adequate minimum wage. So we need to make sure that the city takes this as an issue. When we plan our growth and our downtown strategy, we better be serious about low-cost housing. And it's not what the realtors say, which is 10% below market value. That is not low cost. And if we let the market set what low cost is, and we don't actually stand up and ask for what's right, we are not going to have housing, and our homelessness is going to go up, and we're going to have more of a problem, just like Sacramento, which has seen a 30% increase in homelessness since 2015. 30%. And when they go back and look at it, it's because they do not have housing that anyone can afford, period. And you go look at New York Times, they've been running a series all month on housing and how far people have to actually either take transit or drive to go to work in the cities of Sacramento, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego. Sometimes as much as 2 hours each way, and they're still spending 60 to 70% of their salaries on housing. So yes, when I was asked a question on a questionnaire for endorsement, do I believe the government has a role and should play a role in setting the cost of housing? You are damn straight I do. Because if we don't do it, who will? Okay? And if we don't own the homelessness, who will? Nobody. If we do not own the environment and say we are going to stop it, and if we can, we are going to correct what we can, who will? And it's up to us and our small communities to turn around and show Washington, D.C. how you do this. You do not fulminate hate. You do not ignore science, and you do not pretend that trickle down is going to take care of the people in our country. Because when all is said and done, and those books are written in 2,000 years from now, we are not going to be judged by the best in our society. We are going to be judged by the least. And we have to take that seriously as people. And it starts here, it starts in Olympia, and yes, at the city council level, that's what it should be happening everywhere in the country right now. I am Lisa Parshley. I'm running for Olympia City Council position number 5, and I hope I can count on your support in the coming months as we step toe-to-toe to Alan Miller.
Hey, so clap a little harder. That was marvelous. Yes.
To learn more about Lisa Parshley, visit her website at lisaforolympia.com. Paid for by the Committee to elect Lisa Parshley for Olympia City Council Position 5.